This is our 2021 Tesla Model Y long range. As of this recording, this car has just shy of 20,000 miles on it. And in today's video, I'm going to show you what it's like to go on a road trip in an electric car. How often did I stop to charge? How difficult was it to find charging when I was far away from my house? And at the end, I'll show you just how much it cost to go almost 900 miles in an electric car. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat things. There were some difficulties along the way. I thought I had charging in Grand Rapids where I was going. I didn't time out my charging stops as perfectly as I could have. And on the way back, I even got a nail in one of my tires. But even though we've had an EV since 2017, I still learned some things on this trip. Full disclosure, it was just me on this trip. My wife and kids stayed behind, and although a trip with my wife would have been just fine, if we had the kids with, I think that would have made for many more stops, and it would have made for an entirely different trip. Alright, let's take a look at the route plan, which at this point will be tomorrow. Alright, so let's take a look at the Tesla's navigation screen, and this shows that we're going to get from 100%, which is what we are now and what we'll leave with tomorrow, we're going to get to Grand Rapids, Michigan with 22% state of charge. But that includes a 30-minute stop in Rockford, Illinois, and you'd be arriving with 31% battery at that Supercharger in Rockford. So what I'm probably going to do is skip that charger and hit up a charger that's closer to the Chicago area, probably something around here. Okay, so at this point you might be thinking, what exactly goes into a route plan? With a gas car, it's pretty simple. You get in the car, make sure you're full, of course, and if you're not, you just stop off at the gas station and fill up, and it takes 5 minutes and you're on your way. In an electric car, it takes a little bit more planning, and it takes a little bit more coordination. Coordination? Anyway, one of the first things I do is I pull up PlugShare. So this is either an app or it's a website, and it's a really great resource. All you do is you go in there, figure out which city or town you're going to, and you just type it in and it will show all the chargers in that area. Let's take a look. Alright, so I've got Grand Rapids, Michigan pulled up here, and you can see there's all kinds of stuff in the middle of downtown, and then there's a bunch of stuff on the west and the south and the east and the north. Anyway, it's great. You can literally type in the address of where you're staying and it will pull things up. So if I'm going to be down here somewhere at the Meijer, it will say Sharp BMW, and I can click on this. It's a J1772, which gives me 6.6 kilowatts of charging. But if I'm staying, let's see, there's not really, that's a bad example because there's no hotels nearby. But if I were staying in a hotel that's like here, that would be great. It would show me a dropped pin, and then I could see what's nearby the dropped pin. Alright, so that's the first step. And even though we have a Tesla, we can use Tesla's website to look for what's called destination charging, and it's similar to the things that I just showed you on PlugShare, the J1772 plug. It charges a little faster, but PlugShare is kind of for everybody, and you can filter out all kinds of different options, whether it's a certain type of charger, certain speed, whether or not you have to pay for the charging, whether it's a public location or not. There's all kinds of customization options available in the PlugShare app. Okay, so now that I know where I'm going, where I'm staying, where the charging options are around where I'm staying, I'm pretty comfortable. I can route myself to Grand Rapids with any number of state of charges available to me. I can stop at a Supercharger just outside of town and charge up higher than I normally would if I really want to sort of alleviate that range anxiety. But what I'm most likely to do, and this is just because I have experience driving a Tesla around all over the country, really, all of the Midwest, I should say, I'm going to be comfortable driving to the town of Grand Rapids with probably a low state of charge, somewhere between 10 and 0%. Because one thing is for sure, when you have an electric car, you sort of have to change your mindset from the gas car mindset, which is drive until you're empty, pull into a gas station, fill it all the way up. That's not really how it works with an electric car. Generally, the best practice that I've found, and that several other people who are on YouTube have found, is that you charge from 100% when you leave home, before you leave home, drive as far as you can without running out of battery, charge from there. So if I get to Chicago with 1%, I'm going to charge maybe to 50% so I can get to the next supercharger. So you're kind of supercharger hopping at that point. So then you're going to pull in, after the last supercharger, you're going to pull into town with whatever state of charge you have. And if you have done some planning, and if you've looked on PlugShare, you'll know where the charging is around you. So when you get to your destination, you should be able to just plug in wherever you are. Technically, you can plug in anywhere there's electricity, but the speed is variable. If you plug into a 3-prong standard 120 volt outlet, it might take you several days to charge back up to a usable range. If you pull up to a faster charger like a J1772 or a destination charger, it's probably going to take you 6 to 8 hours, depending on the setup of the electricity at that charger. If you stop at a CCS fast charger, or for me it'll be a Tesla Supercharger, I can charge from 0 to 80% in about 30 minutes, and then 80 to 100% takes another 30 minutes. Alright, it is 1:14 p.m. We're leaving with 97% battery, and we will get to Rockford, Illinois with 37% charge, which is a little more than I want, but I'll probably have to stop at that time because that'll be 2 hours and 39 minutes. I did reset the trip, so I've got Grand Rapids distance. That's how far I've gone since I charged, basically. So what I'll do is I'll have all the stats for you, the total energy that we've used, and we'll keep track of supercharging costs along the way. So let's do this. Alright, so we're going through the rural Wisconsin state roads here. This is what my drive will look like for about an hour, and then the rest of the way to Grand Rapids. Hey, there's some horses. I don't know if you can see them. It'll be 4-lane highway most of the way, so I'll be going about 70 miles an hour for about 75% of the way to Rockford. So we'll see what our actual percentage is once we get there. But I just wanted to mention also that I'm going to be going about allegedly 5 miles an hour over the speed limit. Normally I drive exactly the speed limit, which drives people behind me crazy, but I really don't care. So that's what we're going to do for the entirety of this trip. When it's a longer road trip, I tend to go just a tiny bit faster. There's some more farmland. It's a beautiful drive, but we are kind of in the middle of nowhere, which is why my channel is called Tesla Country. We're out in the country. Alright, time for a little update. So we're driving along here, and I figured, well, do we really need to go to Rockford and arrive at 38% battery? Well, let's stretch it. So I decided to stretch it to the Chicago area. That was 25%. So I'm going to stretch it a little further. We can make it all the way to Portage, Indiana with 12% battery. Oh, 10, it says 10% now. It just said 12% a minute ago. Either way, we've got a bunch of range here. So we're going to try to stretch it. Unless my bladder can't do that, then we're going to stop. So we've got another 4 hours and 26 minutes in the car here before we need to stop and charge. Well, theoretically we could probably go a little further even, but we'll see. Sorry for all the bumps, but that's what we got going on. Okay, so update time. Mere minutes after I put in the new destination in Indiana, it's saying stay. Well, it went away now that I'm recording, but it said stay below 70 to reach your destination. And sometimes Tesla would do this. The trip computer was estimating that we'd get there with 12%. We are now down to 4%. So I think I may have been a little ambitious, but we'll see what we actually get along the way here. So yeah, I might end up stopping in Rockford after all. Okay, so we've been driving for a little bit now with the Rolling Meadows, Illinois Supercharger plugged in as our destination. And when I first plugged it in, it said 25%. We'd arrive at 25%. And so something that the Tesla navigation system does is it learns how you're driving as you're driving, and then it adjusts your predicted state of charge for when you get there. So now, probably can't see it because of all the bumps. This road kind of sucks right now, but now it's projecting 15%. So we've air quotes lost 10% of our range. So we'll see. We've still got another hour and 56 minutes before we reach the Rolling Meadows, Illinois Supercharger. So we'll see what we actually get there with. All right, we've arrived with 13% at the Rolling Meadows, Illinois Supercharger. Let's get this bad boy plugged in. It is 4:39. I gotta pee, but first, let's check something quick. Go to trips. I've been in the car for 3.5 hours. So for those people who say there's not enough range on these cars, there's 3.5 hours worth of range, and most of that was 70. Some of that was 75 miles an hour. So we probably would have got here with 15 or 16%, but it went a little faster than I wanted to on one leg. But we're here. Time to get plugged in. All right, I'm plugged in now. You probably can't see that, so let's open it up. Hop on in here. And take a look at this. We should be getting, should be getting good speeds here at 14%. So we'll see what happens here. 15. I was hoping for like double this, but I have no idea what the charging curve does. I don't know that much about this car, so it may take a little bit more charge and then it'll bump up, but I will keep tabs on this car. It says 55% remaining. That's probably to 100% because I don't have the next destination plugged in. And then it tells me how much I'm being charged at the current moment. So I'll keep an eye on it and we'll see how things are going. Alright, so we've gone from 14% to 32% in short order, but 128 kilowatt hours is not very fast. Right there, 128 kilowatt hours. It says 535 miles an hour, but this is a 250 kilowatt charger, so it should be doing more than that at 33%. Normally when you pull into a charger with less charge, you charge faster. You charge faster at the bottom end than you do at the top end. There is our current session. I will update what the session is before we leave. I would move, but I don't care that much and I have to pee really bad. So I'm going inside, and there's a Meyer right there. Interestingly, this bank of superchargers that I'm at is all 250, and then there's another bank down there past that car that's all 150. So interesting setup here. Chevy Bolt is creeping around the parking lot. He was cruising around before I went into the bathroom. But check it out. There's our car in the middle. There's nobody around us. But we never charged above 128 kilowatts, which is not a huge problem because I had to go to the bathroom anyway. But if you're expecting a super fast charge, sometimes you don't get it, and I don't know why for this one. Update time. The second leg of the trip is underway. I am just east of Gary, Indiana. I'm done traveling through Chicago, and the the bumper-to-bumper madness that is rush hour Chicago traffic. I was kind of concerned that I would hit that, especially given the time that I got to the Rolling Meadows, Illinois Supercharger. But it, kind of couldn't really be helped because I couldn't go any further without battery dying. So I did what I could, got through it just fine. It's 6:39 p.m. I got another 45 minutes of driving, and I'm going to get to the next Supercharger with 21% battery. So let's keep it going, shall we? Alright, we changed up the plan a little bit. Instead of going to Benton Harbor, Michigan, which is a faster Supercharger, I went to St. Joseph's because right there is a restaurant, and I'm hungry. And it's 8, and I haven't eaten. So, we have arrived at 17% state of charge. Let's take a look at the trip. 2 hours and 15 minutes. My back is killing me, my butt's killing me. It's time to get out of this car. Let's go plug in. Another thing I want to mention is I might as well stop at a 150 that has food options, because the 250 kilowatt charger that I used last time didn't really work very well. I got 128 kilowatts max. However, I had some payment issues. I had an expired credit card on file, so maybe that was part of it. Maybe it was speed limited because of that, but that's all been resolved. But either way, I'm going to go in, get some food, and then it's time to hit the road again. Also, we are probably going to overcharge here because it's already 8:19, and I would rather get into Grand Rapids with more than 20% battery, because I don't know what the charging situation is like there. So this will probably be the last stop. I'm going to overcharge. Not all the way to 100 because that's a waste of time. I'll probably go up to 80, maybe 90, but we'll see. We'll see what I feel like because we're at 17%. We're getting 111 kilowatts right now, so we're doing just fine for this Supercharger. But yeah, time to go in, get some food, and we'll keep track. I'll show you how much this session costs after I plug in. The last one was $14.84 or something like that. But I'll have stats about how much it costs at the very end of the video. Alright, so we're at 70% state of charge. By the time I went to the bathroom, got some food, I ate inside there because I knew I was overcharging. Did all that, and we went from, 13%, 14% up to now 71%. So we're going to get there 38% state of charge, so I might stay for another 9% or so. Alright, the final leg of the trip has begun. I didn't want to wait. I left at 78% state of charge. So we're going to get there with 47% charge. And I did check PlugShare, so I know that where I'm going, there's a charger kind of on the other side of a parking lot for me. So I'll be able to plug in there overnight. And hopefully I'll be all set to go in the morning, but we'll check that out when we get there. So. We're here, 42%. It's 10:16 p.m. Do some quick trip updates. So this last leg took an hour and a half. So, that is all for now. I'm going to bed. It's morning. I got some sleep. Let's go get this charging situation figured out. Alright, found the charger. It's right behind me there. See if you can see it. Yep, right there. So it's a J1772. So what happens is, it's hard to do with one hand. So this end goes into the charger. This end goes into the charger. This end goes into my car. And let's see what kind of speeds we get. Alright, so we're plugged in at 41%. It is a 30 amp charger, which will give me a full charge in 8 hours and 50 minutes. 35, 30. That'll adjust as it goes, which is fine. That may seem like a lot of time, but I have all the time in the world. Based on what I'm doing today, that should be just fine. When I'm done today, I should be able to come out here and get the car, and it should be fully charged. Okay, so I went into parking services, and apparently they don't want me to park here. This is for students only. So I'm going to move the car. Luckily, there's another spot in a parking lot just across that underpass over there. So we're just going to move it and see what kind of charging speeds we get over there. Alright, so the car's been moved around. I checked the other parking lot, and the charger is blocked by a Chevy Volt. Not a pure electric Chevy Bolt with a B. The hybrid one, the plug-in hybrid one with a V. Come on, man. Yeah, so not a big deal. This is why I overcharged, because now I have 41%, and I can sit here all day and it'll lose a 1 or 2% because of Sentry mode, and I'll be just fine. I can plug in later tonight or check that. There's several charging options around here that I can use overnight. So, alright, so this is kind of funny, and I forgot to mention this earlier. So the lot that they wanted me to go to before, that was on the other side of the highway over there, it had the same placards and the same information and the same everything. It says permit required to park there and no overnight parking. But when I got here last night at like 10:30, there was nobody in the first parking lot, and so I don't know how they enforced that. But so that's a sort of interesting thing that you might run into with a public charger. They may have certain rules that they may or may not enforce, and it may not this, that, and the other thing. So yeah, there is some planning, but there's also not a clear option necessarily for where you're going to charge your car when you go to a place that you've never been before, and that's why something like PlugShare is incredibly helpful. Alright, it's the morning of the last day of my thing here in Grand Rapids, and finding charging has been ridiculous. There's the lot right over there on the other side of the parking ramp from my hotel here, and the gate was down today. Yesterday it wasn't. I should have just charged yesterday, and I don't know. I had it plugged in. I should have just kept going, but I'm at 33%, so I'm fine. And there are superchargers on the way out of town. So it's this kind of planning that you have to do with an EV sometimes, and you might have to overcharge depending on where you're going and what you're doing, and that kind of thing. I tried plugging into the lot last night. That's right across the street from my hotel, and the plug, it's from ChargePoint, and the handles wouldn't come out of the charger. So ChargePoint says public access after 6 p.m. They were locked in there. They wouldn't come out. So that's the kind of consideration that you have to think about when you drive an electric car somewhere. If you've never been there and you don't know the charging scene, it's good to arrive with some buffer. Alright, my history conference is over. My time in Grand Rapids is done. My brain's a little fried, so I'm just going to take it easy. I'm going to take the easy way, I should say, and I'm just going to go to the Tesla navigate, home, and I'm just going to do what it says, because I don't feel like doing a bunch of route planning. I'm going to do exactly what it says. So we'll see. My first stop looks like Hudsonville for a few minutes, and then Chicago, kind of right downtown, looks like, and then Madison and home. ETA for home is about 12 seconds later. Can't do math right now either, but I got a good 8 hours ahead of me, so let's get back on the road. One thing I will note is I'm leaving with 29% state of charge. If I was able to charge while I was sitting here in Grand Rapids, if I was able to charge up to 100%, my route would be much different along the way. So Hudsonville, Michigan. We're going to have to stop here for 25 minutes to charge, and then we're on our way. Okay, change of plans. I looked at the app Supercharged, which is great. It's like a plug share specifically for Teslas. But the next supercharger that I would stop at is up here somewhere, and you have to, there's a bunch of freeway, expressway, like 18 lane stuff, and I'm a simple Midwestern guy. I'm not dealing with that, so I'm gonna charge there before I get to Chicago. I'm gonna charge up enough to just drive through Chicago, straight through. So I'm actually good right now. If I leave right now, I would get to Michigan City, Indiana with 33%, which is way too much. So it's time to unplug and get on out of here. There's also a restaurant at the next charger, and I don't know about you guys, but I like food. All right, we've arrived in Michigan City, Indiana with 23% battery at 5:24. Let's look at some stats quick. Trips. That last leg was an hour and a half. Finally, getting some good speeds. This is a 250 kilowatt charger, and we are getting 216 kilowatts charge. Alright, here's a route plan I can get behind. So this is going to want us to stop in Rockford, Illinois, which I will do, and then we will stop in Madison before heading home. So I'm probably just going to follow this the rest of the way because I'm totally fine with that. We'll have to charge here for 25 minutes, and then we can continue on our way to Rockford, and we'll see. I might charge up there long enough to just make it home. We'll see, because it's going to be late and I'm going to be tired and I'm just going to want to be home. So for the last 30 miles or so, this blue Model 3 was behind me, and I just looked over and he's sipping on a Coors Light at the charging station. Not a good idea. Look what I found in the tire. A nice chunk of metal. I'm afraid to take it out though. Keep an eye on it, see if anything happens. Alright, we're at 86%. We can unplug and continue on our way. We have arrived at the Rockford, Illinois Supercharger, the slow one. There's two superchargers in town here. One's a 250, this one's a 150. It's 8:07, and we've got 24% battery. Let's take a look at that last leg. Trips was 2 hours and 13 minutes for a distance of 143 miles. So once again, 2 hours and 13 minutes. My back hurts. It's time to get out of the car. So people wonder if there's enough range in these cars. There is. This supercharger is like in the middle of nothing. There's a strip mall over there that looks closed, and a Menards over there that looks closed, but that's about it. Let's get out and get plugged in and start charging. I should also mention, depending on how long I want to stay here, this might be the last charging stop, but it's about 3 hours to get home from here, maybe 3.5. I don't know if I can stay for that long. I might have to stop in Madison anyway. So we'll see. I'm going to let the car charge up a little bit and go look for a bathroom. I'm also just now realizing I have not been showing you guys how much the charging costs have been along the route here. So what I'll do is at the end, I will look everything up on my Tesla app, on my Tesla profile online, and I'll leave a little blurb at the end with how much the charging cost is for the total trip. So. Alright, stopped and got some food finally. So now I am way overcharged. Also went to the bathroom. So, where is it here? We'll get to the next supercharger in Madison with 39%. We'll see what it's like when we get there. That's an hour and 6 minutes away. Then another 2 hours home. So 3 hours and 6 minutes. If I can skip that one in Madison. But I don't know. I should be able to. Well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when I get closer. So let's unplug and get the bleep out of here. stop in Madison for about 10 minutes, and then I will be able to make it home with a 20% state of charge. So we'll see if that is accurate. Alright, we've made it to the final Supercharger stop in Madison, Wisconsin. We have to charge here for 10 minutes. We've currently got 38% battery. We could skip this one and get home with 3%, but I would just, I need to stretch my legs anyway. So we're going to charge for 10 minutes or so, and then we'll get home with about 20%. Alright, I stopped in at the grocery store, got some wrapping paper per request from my wife for our youngest son's birthday. And in the time it took me to go to the bathroom and find the wrapping paper, the car is ready to go. It's actually waiting for me. So we're going to get back there and unplug and get out of here. Alright, this will be the last leg of the trip. Hour and 50 minutes. Be home at 11:40 p.m. and we will arrive with 28% state of charge. I'm not going to show you any of the route there because it's dark out and you're not going to see anything anyway. So, see you when we get home. Alright, we've made it home. 11:37 with 33% battery. We'll do some trip stuff here. Went 884 miles, 249 kilowatt hours of energy, and an average of 281 watt hours per mile. Good night. One of the best parts about owning an electric car. In 6 hours, it'll be up to 100%. So by the time I wake up, it'll be done charging. And there you have it. Woke up at 6:30 this morning. The car was ready to go. So I'm back home, and I've had a few days to collect my thoughts a little bit and collect some data. And I want to share with you guys what I learned in this trip. Because as I said in the intro, we've had an electric car since 2017, but that was a Model S, and the Model Y is a different car. Before I share what I've learned, though, let's go over some charging stats. On the way there, I stopped twice for a grand total of $33.74. And on the way back, I stopped 4 times for a grand total of $54.82 for a grand total of $88.56. So you see that difference there between charging up to 100% at home and only having to stop twice versus on the way back, I left with a much lower state of charge and I had to stop 4 times along the way. Also, earlier in the video, I showed that there was a chunk of metal sticking out of the tire. Turns out that was a nail. I have no idea how I picked it up along the way, but it was about this big, the size of my index finger, just sticking into the tire. And we were slowly wearing it down while driving it. So thankfully, the nail was holding pressure. If I had taken it out, though, that would have been a problem. So I'm glad I didn't. All right, so what did I learn on this trip? Number 1, plug share, while it's great, it's not always accurate. So I had just so many issues getting plugged in once I was in Grand Rapids. So what I'm going to do next time, if I go back, is I'm going to look up the Tesla destination charging hotels in the area, and I'm just going to stay at one of those. So that way I can leave with 100% charge when I come back home. Granted, on the way back, I was getting pretty sore. So the 4 stops I had to make on the way back were probably a blessing in disguise because I got to get out and stretch my legs. The one time I had to stop for wrapping paper anyway, so it kind of worked out. Second thing I learned, let's talk about the Tesla navigation system. It predicts a percentage for your battery when you get to the next supercharger or your next destination. And generally, what I found is if you are driving and it says you're going to get there with 35%, go a little faster. And that estimate will go down as you approach your supercharger or your destination. But you can kind of gauge how fast you need to go, because at one point the speed limits were allowing me to go about 80 miles an hour, and the range was dropping. Ignore him. So the range drops if you go a little faster. If you are dropping too far too fast, just slow down, and that range will kind of creep back up a little bit. So I think I've developed a new charging strategy for long road trips that has 2 components basically. One, I'm going to stop and charge before I get to a big city, like this time it was Chicago, and then drive through that big city and charge on the other side of it. I don't want to stop in the middle. This is me personally. I don't want to stop in the middle of 8-lane traffic where I have to get over and deal with a bunch of, interchange of people coming onto the highway and getting off the highway, and then finding a parking garage where this charger in Chicago was located. I don't want to deal with that. So I'm going to charge before and after the city. Second thing I think I want to do is, if there's not a destination charger or a hotel that has a charger attached to it that I can use while I'm staying there, I'm going to fast charge at the nearest fast charger to my destination. So for this example, there was one in, I think it was Hudsonville, Michigan. I should have stopped there, charged up to 80 or 90%, and then I could have gotten into town with a much higher state of charge than the 42% that I got into town with. But again, it was just me on this trip. No wife, no kids. And I think if the kids had been in the car, totally different trip. We would have had to stop a lot more. We would have wanted to get into town at a decent hour, not 10:30 like I did. And that would have changed the strategy altogether. Okay, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing, and more importantly, please share this video with anybody who might be considering buying an electric car. Electric car road trips are quite doable.